I'm Katie McManus, business strategist and leadership coach. I am thrilled to be going live today with Kevin Stansfield, a fellow business strategist and coach from the south of England.
Great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I've been coaching business owners predominantly in, I would say, the sort of small to medium size for about 17 years. Prior to that, I was an accountant, worked in practice and in industry, ended up helping about 3 businesses grow to multi-millions, but realised that there was more to business growth than just the numbers, and that then took me into doing an MBA, Master of Business, and ultimately finding coaching, because I'd never heard of coaching before. I found Action Coach and loved the concept of helping people to discover their own way to success, because there isn't one path to get to where you want to be. The coach's job is to uncover that individual strengths and help them to get to where they want to be. So that's what I've been doing. On the way, I've written 3 books, which has been a challenge in itself, because I'm, as I was saying to you earlier, I'm mildly dyslexic. So writing books and editing them, writing them is fine. Editing them then is a real pain in the neck. So
I'm laughing at you because I've literally blocked off this whole weekend and Monday and Tuesday, because I've been writing a book for 1.5 years now, and I have to get it done. And
okay.
I have ADHD, so it's like, and we were talking about some neurodiversity stuff, but like, I have to have a deadline, and also I can't have anything else going on when I'm in creative mode. Like, it all has to happen in one go.
Yeah. Well, if it's any consolation, my first one took me 4 years. So
great!
So you've got plenty of time. Time.
Amazing.
But that was one thing that I was sort of 2.5 years in, or nearly 3 years in, and it wasn't getting done.
Right.
It was lots of excuses, and mainly because I don't know if you found it, but I had this love-hate relationship with it. I loved doing it, and then they always say never read your book before it's finished. And I started reading it, and then I hated it, and I thought, and I was up and down, and in the end, I came back to coaching, which is about helping people achieve their goals. And I thought, well, look, if I've got to do this, I need to find a coach to help me finish this book. And literally 2 weeks later, a book writing coach came to one of my networking groups and said, I'm a book writing coach. I help people bring their books to reality. And I just went, there you go. I'm going to be the easiest referral you've ever had. And she held me accountable. Every single week we had a call. I told her what I was going to do. I did it. She proofread it and gave me positive reinforcement, which is what you need when you're trying to move forwards in anything. You're doing a good job. Well done.
Yep. But
also, if she didn't agree with it, I think you should rewrite this bit. And after, say, 3.5 years, the book was then completed within about 9 months. So it's what I needed, that catalyst to make it actually happen. And she had the connections with the publishers and the editors and because I wanted visual as well. So there's loads of pictures in it. So I needed a graphic designer to draw those pictures. And and it made it happen. So it was great.
Yeah.
So the second one was the second one was really easy because I had it ghostwritten. So I wrote half of it, and the majority of the work was done by somebody else. And then the third one I wrote during COVID. And that was much easier because I'd been through the process. So it was the easiest second time. So so good. So I wish you well with finishing it.
Thank you. Well, I think that kind of ties into our topic today. It's like the first time you do everything is going to be harder than something that you've done 1,000,000 times.
Yeah.
I think when people are starting a business, like part of it is like they've just never done it before. And so it seems scarier, it seems bigger, like you don't know what you don't know. So it just becomes like this overwhelming thing.
It's always amazed me. And having been around businesses all my life, both my parents had businesses. My mum started one from our front room. My dad gave up a really good job to buy a business off a man in a pub. So as you do, knew nothing. It was a sign business. He knew nothing about sign making, but no, I want to be a businessman. So he bought the business. But what's amazed me over all these years is when people do start their business, there's this sort of almost feeling that I should know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because the majority of people start businesses in things that they're good at. So the plumber starts a plumbing business, the accountant starts an accountancy business. So I'm really good at doing the stuff. But no one actually questioned, well, you're going into a business which is about sales and marketing. It's about employment. It's about finance. It's about, all these different, and you've got no skills whatsoever in those. So we always say there's this sort of this crazy thing that, people who start their own business don't want to work for a complete idiot. So their boss. So I'm fed up with working for a complete idiot. So I'm going to go and start work for a complete lunatic myself. Because at least your boss had 5-10 years of experience of managing and training and things like that. You've got none whatsoever. And then that's why the sad statistic is roughly about 60% of businesses will fail within 5 years.
Right.
And 98% will never get beyond employing 10 people.
Right.
And that's I've done the statistics in the UK, and I know from colleagues in America, it's the same in America, and I guess it's the same everywhere. Because people can start a business, that's easy, but taking it to the next level and creating a business that works without you, that's the bit that you've got to learn those skills. And if you're not learning it from somebody or somewhere, then all you're doing is the first year of experience again and again and again. And it's the same in sport. Do you play any sports, Katie?
Oh no, I have no hand-eye coordination.
Okay, brilliant. So if you were to start tennis,
sports, I've seen people going to watch sports on TV, and I think that's great for them. Great.
So if you said, right, you woke up one morning and said, right, I'm going to go and play tennis.
Right.
Yeah. That's like sort of saying I'm going to start a business. So you'd go out on the tennis court with a tennis racket and a load of balls, and you'll start hitting balls. Yeah.
Yep.
You had no lessons, nobody telling you what to do. In 5 years' time, do you think you'd be a really good tennis player?
No, I'd probably still be like running around like a crazy person. And
that's the sad fact within business is people, okay, they can hit the ball over the net because in 5 years you probably got some experience to hit the ball over the net. But as soon as you come up against a decent opponent who's had coaching, who's learned how to do it, you're going to realize how bad you actually are.
Right.
And that's really where we are with the majority of people in business, unfortunately. Yeah. And that's why I got into doing what I do, because my father was one of those. Yeah. And after 15 years, his business went pop. He wasn't capable. I mean, he was a very clever man, but he wasn't able to actually take his business to that next level where it ran without him, or it was sellable. He could sell it to somebody else. And he just basically bought himself a job for 15 years. And then, the recession in the mid 90s basically killed the business and nearly killed him. Yeah. And that was my book was about his story. So it was a homage to my father about the roller. It's called The Big Dipper: How to Survive the Roller Coaster Ride of Business Ownership, because that's what it's like. I've run my own business. All my clients will say the same thing, that it's this roller coaster that goes up and down. It's great when it's great, and it's dire when it's dire. But like all roller coasters, you've got to know when to get off.
Totally.
And that's the key thing, is building a business that you can exit at some stage in the future.
Yeah. Well, and I always akin it to, we didn't come out of the uterus knowing how to use a fork or how to speak French or how to do advanced algebra. Like, we had to learn those things. Someone had to teach them to us. And we might have been able to learn some of them from a book or from an online program or whatever. But oftentimes it takes mentorship. It takes practicing with other humans with some guidance. And there's no shame. It's funny how new business owners think that they're supposed to have this all inherently built into them. And then they start punishing themselves for not having it inherently built in.
Yeah.
You have your whole career before now that helped you be able to do this. likewise, like I come from sales and marketing. I'm able to apply all of that into my work.
And the other thing is, once you realize that learning is key, you realize you never stop learning. So, I've got 30 odd years of business experience behind me, but I still know that I don't know.
Right.
So there's that quest for more, for more knowledge. So I run a book club, that, get people to read books and then talk about books, because, it's better to learn from people that have been there, seen it and done it than through your own experiences.
Yep. I'm curious. So in your process of growing your business, thinking about bravery, what were the things in your business that required the most bravery from you?
I think that the starting point is, letting go of the past.
Yeah.
So I was, as I said, I was an accountant. I had my own accountancy business. So I was a freelance finance director. So I had these clients that were paying me a good amount of money, and I was going in there once a week, once a month, and making sure their finance was up together. And then I made this jump into business coaching, but I held on to the comfort blanket of the accountancy side.
Yeah.
So I'm running this business on one hand, with almost one hand, but the other hand's tied behind my back because I didn't want to let go because it was safe and I could do it with my eyes closed. And I see that with a lot of people is the fear of letting go of what they've got actually prevents them from going forwards.
Yeah.
So there's almost that sort of, there's the phrase of, you've got to burn your boats. If you make the commitment, you've got to get it so you can't go back. Because if you've got the option to go back, you've never fully committed to going forwards. Right. So that was really my first one, was waking up about 6 months into running this business and going, do you know what, I've just got to sack all my accountancy clients, because I can't do both. My future is this direction, and if I keep doing this, I'm going to hold myself back.
Right.
So that was, I think that was the sort of the first part of bravery is to let go of let go of what you've got.
Yeah.
But have the faith that you can actually move forwards.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that we get all tripped out about when we talk about bravery and making the brave choice like that is like we expect it to feel good as we're doing it, right? But I'm sure those 6 months, like you're questioning yourself, you're like looking at other people to see what they're doing. It's probably one of the worst feelings is when you're building up to a brave move.
We have a saying, it's called perturbation.
Yeah.
Have you come across some of your sort of listeners won't know, perturbation is a bit of a strange word, but the art of being perturbed is a feeling of uncomfortableness. So perturbation is a natural human state that is basically your little voice in the back of your head going, are you sure this is the right way? Right. It's the sort of the devil and the angel on your shoulders, and one of them is saying, is this really what you want to be doing? So it makes you feel perturbed. It gives you an emotional feeling of uncomfortableness. Right. Now, for most people, when they feel uncomfortable, they go, oh, I feel uncomfortable, and then they go back to their previous state of being comfortable. And it's a bit like taking a pan of boiling water, or a pan of water, and turning it into steam. If I want to change the state from a liquid into a gas, and I've got that pan of water sitting on my stove, I've got to apply heat. Okay, so the heat is generally the energy that moves you away from something. Now that might be the idiot boss. It might be I'm not earning enough money. It might be I don't spend enough time with my family. It might be, I want more in my life. I don't know what it is, but I want something more than I'm getting. So there's some form of energy that takes you to think about starting your own business. So you start applying heat to that water, then it starts to boil. It starts to simmer, and you get the boiling and the bubbling, and it makes a bit of a noise, and you start to go, oh God, have I really made the right decision? Oh no, I don't know, because you can't see the future, you can't see where you're going to go. So if you had that pan of water, what most people do then is turn the heat down. Okay, so they turn the heat down because they don't like being in that state. Well, if you turn the heat down, you go back to being as you were. What you need to do is turn the heat up. So you've got to apply more pressure, more, and I would say it turns from a negative pressure of this is what I don't want into a positive pressure of this is what I do want. And this is where you come into visualization, you know, and sitting with your dream board and talking to other people who have been there, or, you know, family, because you'll always find family and friends and people you know who will have a reason why you shouldn't do what you want to do. Oh, you know, I knew somebody who ran a business once and he lost his house and his wife left him, or his, yeah, and the kids, you hated him and things like that. So you've got to go and find the positive people who go, yeah, that's great, who will back you. And that's what I do a lot of time with my clients, and you do with yours, is, yes, this is the right thing. Okay, it feels bad. It's not going well at the moment, but you've got to keep pushing forward. You know, it's like the gym coach who's, you know, sitting there sweating and they're going, no, come on, one more repetition, one more. You can do it. You can do it. And then when you've done it, you feel great. Yeah, and that's that transition. Then when you go from the liquid state into the gas state, is suddenly you are free, and then you've got that sort of energy then to go on to do something else.
What I find with my clients who are like really in the beginner stages is like, Hank, stop barking, please.
That's not me, by the way.
No, it's all good. Hanky, come here. It's okay, buddy. Well, what I find with my clients is, you know, like, especially when they're first starting out, like they put a few posts out there and they're like, okay, it didn't work. And it's like, yes, you just put a few posts out there. That is just the very beginning stages. Like, it takes 4 to 5 months. You have to turn the heat up because you have to just make sure everyone in your world knows what you're up to. And part of it, I love what you're talking about is, you know, finding that positive affirmation, because it is finding your business besties and your allies and the people who can not only cheer you on, but also normalize the struggle with you.
Yeah, you've got to have people that understand the mental journey that you're going on, because, you know, a lot of people, if they don't have a business or run a business, you know, they can't see that roller coaster that you're on. You know, they'll go, oh, well, you know, you'll get over it. You know, well, when you've got a job, you can have a day off, you can have a week off and come back to it fresh. When you have a business, you don't get any time off because you're constantly thinking about it. When you're at home, you're thinking about it. When you're at work, you're thinking about it. When you're on holiday, you're thinking about it. You know, it becomes all encompassing, and that in itself can create the stresses and strains that can cause problems down the line as well. So teaching clients to let go and have time off is one of the big things that I do. You know, I had one guy, he was a multi-millionaire, been running his business for 20 years. From outside, you know, you would think he's the guy that's there. He's all the success most people could ever dream of. And he came to me and said, look, I'm just not happy. You know, I've in 20 years, I've never had more than 1 week's holiday. I said, what? But you earn probably $1 million, $2 million a year. You know, you've got Ferraris in the garage. He said, yeah, but I'm sort of, and he wouldn't admit it. But I said, look, you're a workaholic. You're addicted to work now. You can't let work go because it's your identity. So we worked. It took us about 6 to 9 months. We had to put people and processes in place in the business so he could have time off. And eventually we managed to get him out, and he had a month's cruise around, and he was just a different man after that. It was just, okay, I can see now my business should work without me. Yeah, I get it.
There's a joke to be made that's very American, that he only had 1 week off.
It still amazes me in America that, you know, how little holiday you're given as a legal side of things, you know.
Yeah, no, and there's no legal protections if you have a baby around maternity leave or anything. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, so it's the land of the free unless you work.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's why a lot of people are turning to the entrepreneur life now, because they're wanting more freedom and flexibility. And the only way a lot of Americans can get that is by creating it for themselves.
And then it's that sort of whole adage that an entrepreneur is somebody that would rather work 16 hours a day for themselves than 8 hours a day for somebody else.
Right. Right. Although I have to say, like, I think if you're working 16 hours a day for yourself, you're doing it wrong.
Well, that is the thing that, you know, that's not how, in the early days, yes, you do. You've got to get the momentum to get it going. But
right.
after a year, 2 years, if you're still working 16 hours a day, you're definitely doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And that's because no one's taught you how to do it, you know, because probably the people you hang around with are all working 16 hours a day, you know, 7 days a week, and they haven't got it right. So you've got to go and learn from somebody who's been there and understands how to build a business, basically.
Yeah. Well, there's how to build a business, but then there's also how to build a business that directly leads to you being able to lead whatever life you've envisioned for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? They're two different things.
I would say, look, the definition of a business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. That's it. Anything else is a job.
Right.
You know, most people go out and buy themselves a job.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, because they can't leave it for a month. They can't sort of, you know, so they get stuck in this rut. You know, and they change one hamster wheel of the corporate life into another hamster wheel of the business life. Now, you have the sense of more freedom, and it's a little bit like the adage of when you're driving a car down the interstate and you're in traffic, okay, and you know it's going to take you half an hour to do a mile,
right?
Okay, so you either sit in traffic for half an hour and do a mile, or you take the side road and drive 10 miles. Which would take half an hour to do a mile. Which one would you prefer to do? Most people will prefer to do the 10 miles because they feel in control of their destiny, rather than being stuck where I'm not in control. And that's the analogy of business, is it's that 10-mile route to go the same distance for most people.
Right.
Now, if that is a shortcut and that takes you to, you know, from a job I could be where I want to be in 20 years' time, and if you could bypass that and do it in 5 years, you know, then why wouldn't you take that shortcut? I was with a new client today, and you know, his goal was to be able to. He's 40 years old. He wanted to be financially free at the age of 50. Okay, so he's got 10 years, and you know, it wasn't a massive sort of desire. He wanted to be earning about $40,000, $50,000 a year, financially free. So he'd have passive income of $50,000 a year, so he didn't have to work at the age of 50.
Right.
So rather than being on the corporate and getting that by the time you're 70, something like that. And we did the calculation, and I always reverse engineer. So okay, so where do you want to be in that time? So what do we need? So if you want $40,000-$50,000 a year, you need around about £1 million of invested assets. So in property, stocks and shares, anything that drives the income.
Yeah.
So we worked that out. So in order to achieve that, from a business valuation point of view, you need a business that's probably bringing in around about £250,000 net profit per year.
Right.
His business model meant that would require a turnover of around about 800 to £1 million turnover. And he's currently around about 150,000. So, you know, it's quite a big jump.
Right.
But when you did the numbers, that meant he had to employ around about 7 people.
Right.
So he had to go from employing nobody to employing 7 people.
Yeah.
And I said, how long do you think that would take you? He said, I think I could probably do that in 2 years. So suddenly his 10-year goal of retirement, was not 10 years. By reverse engineering it, it was probably more like, I said, look, it'll probably take you a bit longer than that. Let's aim for 5. If we can do it in 2 or 3, you've done really well. If it does take you 10, it doesn't matter, because you can still get to financial freedom in 10 years.
Right.
And that's what most people don't do when they start a business is, right, why do I want this business? Where do I want to be in 10 years' time? What does that look like in a monetary? Because the money does make the world go round. You can't retire financially free unless you've got those assets.
Right.
And then we work out, what does the business need to look like in order to get you to where you want to be. And whenever I do it, we never in 17 years, I think I've probably had one person where they wanted it far quicker than the numbers would actually. I think he wanted to do it in 3 years. I said, look, you can try, but I can't see you're going to employ 100 people in 3 years. I just don't think the people are there. So you're probably going to have to take 5 years. So, okay, I'll take 5 years to do it then.
Yeah. Well, I think most people are just going into it kind of like, well, I'm going to just do whatever I can to get to this goal. And when they finally know, like, here are the steps and here's the timeline, it's such a relief for them. Like, oh my God, like, I didn't know. I was just kind of like doing stuff and praying that it would work out. And
yeah,
now
so say hope is not a strategy.
No. Like, it's beautiful that you have faith, and also that faith with some other stuff as well.
You definitely need faith, but yeah, you can't rely on faith alone. So,
so well, we were talking before we got on about neurodiversity, and I have ADHD, and you had mentioned that you have dyslexia. Yeah. I'm curious, how has that impacted your journey into entrepreneurship?
I think I said to you before, I haven't done the test to see I am dyslexic. I just knew that from back in primary school, I had to go into special classes for my reading and writing.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't think I had a problem, but I was sort of pigeonholed, and I had to go to special classes, and I was extremely embarrassed about that. At the same time, I had to start wearing glasses. So here's a kid starting to wear glasses, going to a special school to learn reading and writing that everyone else gets really easy, and it's like, so I remember at the time, my confident, I was a very confident young lad, as most young lads are, and that really, looking back, I didn't realize at the time, but looking back now, that really did set me back.
Right.
And I, in a way, I was lucky with my parents were very, positive about it. It wasn't an issue, and I did the classes, I think, for about a year or so, and then I sort of, I got to a level where it was I could cope with it.
Right.
So I've got extremely bad handwriting, and I put my handwriting down to my bad spelling. That if you write really badly, no one picks up on the bad spelling. But likewise, I was always good at maths, so numbers for me were generally much easier. So I went down the maths and science route, left English and languages behind. Can't be bothered to learn any other languages. Everyone speaks English, so I'll put up with that. So really, I didn't. I just thought it was, I was a bit shit at something and good at other things, and that was it. So it didn't really come into any of this. I can't see that I would look back and say, because of my that sort of mild dyslexia, that it led me to do anything.
Right.
I think that the key to it is, and what I've learned through the neural sort of science and things is more about outlook in life, and the people that I was around have been a far bigger influence in what I've done over the years than it. So the external and the internal. The internal, you've got what you've got. Right. You are wired. You're born with what you've got. If you're born with one arm, one leg. There's a fantastic guy. I haven't checked if he's still around, but I think Nick Vujicic. He was born with no arms, no legs. It's called.
Is he the motivational speaker that yes, I have seen him. Yep.
I mean, I saw him in Australia, and I'm a pretty hard-nosed guy, and I'm not easily impressed by speakers. He had me in tears, absolutely in tears. That the bullying he got when he was a kid, stuck in a dustbin. This guy now runs numerous multi-million-pound businesses, and at the time I thought, well, I think I've got problems. if you can do this, then I've got no problems.
Right.
And I think that was sort of it. It was a case of look, you've got what you've got. You're good at some things. You're not great at other things. I chose finance as my route forwards because I was good at numbers. So the dyslexia sort of thing, I just dealt with it. You know, I said I didn't know what it was, so I just thought I was a bit rubbish at something and good at other things. And so I think that knowing yourself is one of the key things to success. It's accepting yourself and saying, okay, I've got some issues. Everyone's got issues. But I have to take ownership of that. It's me. I can't sit there, and too many people in today's world, it's a blame, excuses, denial world. You know, it's somebody else's fault. I'm not successful because, you know, and because of my parents that both started their own businesses, they just got on and did it. You know, my mum learned bricklaying so she could build an extension on the house. You know,
that's insane.
She was just one of those people that just got on and did it. You know, I didn't have a haircut from a barber's until I was 16. Oh, why don't we just do it ourselves? You know,
right. Well, it's funny. You know, you're pointing to, you know, your school honed in on here's the specific problem that you're having, and they gave you that. My school, the public school I went to before my parents switched me to private, they basically divided our third grade class into the early class, which was like the smart kids, the kids that were fast learners and all this stuff, and then like the late class. So the early kids would come in at 7, we would start at 8:30, and then we'd have to stay an hour and a half after. But it's like the way they didn't specify what we were behind on. Right? So it was just like the dumb kids coming in. And there was nothing more of a hit on your confidence when you're just like, oh, I guess I'm just with these people now.
Well, I mean, the whole education system is based that. We had classes, you know, class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The bright kids are in class 1. The next bright kids are in class 2. If you were in class 6, you were sort of, you know, you knew where you were.
Right.
You know, and it's like, okay, you do have to deal with people, you know, because, you know, it is, I find it now when I go to big events and things, really frustrating when, you know, people are slower learners than I am. Right, I've got it, let's move on.
Exactly.
You know, we've got to go through this one more time. So I think there is an element you do need to put bright kids together and you know, people of the same level together so they can learn at the same speed.
Well, and also I think those of us,
but you need to mix.
But those of us with neurodiversity, like that doesn't help us. Like the type of support, because I have ADHD, doesn't mean I'm a slow learner. It just means that I couldn't learn the way the teacher was teaching. Right. So it's like, you know, there just needs to be a lot more supports to kids, because, you know,
and that's the big thing, you know. Okay, I couldn't, you know, I struggled with reading and writing and grammar and things. But you know, and also I'm not very auditory, so you know, if somebody gives me instructions to drive, you know, from here to somewhere and says, like, you go down there, turn left, 3 roads down, I can't even get to the first junction because it's gone. If I drive it once, I'll remember it for the rest of my life. Right. Whereas my wife, you can tell her, and she'll follow those instructions to the letter. Go down again. She go, where do I go now? You know, we are just wired differently. We're kinesthetic learners, auditory learners, or visual learners, and that's the bit that they should pick up on in school. Absolutely. You know, I was a kinesthetic visual learner, so I need to see it and I need to do it, and then I get it. Yeah. What's education? People just sitting there talking at you. Right. No wonder I didn't get it. You know. Maths is easy because you have to draw it, you have to visual. Exactly. Language is a verbal thing, so that, you know, doing French and all they're doing is talking to me, you know, and then they're telling me that I'm not repeating it in the way that they're saying. Yes, I am. I'm doing exactly as you say. No, you're not. Well, what are you saying then? Because I don't understand it. It's just like rubbish to me. It's so funny now looking back, but you know. But yeah, and this is what 40 years ago, you know, we still haven't learned, you know. It's just crazy. Right. Crazy. Well,
we really do take, you know, who we thought we were as children and when we were learning new things, and we apply it to us as adults. and especially when you're starting a business, if you are still carrying that baggage of, I think I am bad at learning new ways, then that's going to get in the way of you actually being successful in this business.
I get lots of my clients when I say, look, part of this program is I need you to learn some stuff. And the best and easiest way to learn is read books, because it's all there. It's you can see that's my bookcase. And I'm not a great. I wouldn't put myself down as a great reader, but I've gone through a lot of stuff in my time. And they say, oh, no, I'm not, I haven't read a book since I was at school, and I never read books. I said, well, look, you've got to learn this somehow. So it's the best way.
Yeah.
And then you give them, so I generally start with audio books, because, a lot of them are driving in their cars and things like that, or, start them with a small book. And then they're reading, that's brilliant. I learned so much from that. And you go, well, yeah, because when you were forced to learn stuff that you had no interest in, what happened was it put you off learning. It's not that you can't read. You can read. Okay, you might read out loud. You might read slow. You might want to sort of be a more auditory person. But again, the education system. I just remember one of the books. I had to read. I think it was called The Siege of Krishnapur, and it was like most boring book I've ever read.
Sounds boring.
and I think that was the last book I read, apart from a John Grisham, I think, for about 20 years.
Right.
And I look back and think, what? Whereas I'd read comics and stuff like that. Yeah. And my parents said, no, you can't read comics because comics addle your mind. What were you talking about? That's the best way to start reading. So.
I know. So we're almost up on time, and I want to hear from you. Like, if you were to give one lesson or one nugget of truth to someone who's starting out, what would that be?
I think, can I have two nuggets?
Yeah, sure.
The first one is
one and a half.
The first one is when you start your business, that there'll be a reason why you're starting it, which is generally you're moving away from pain. Okay, that's fine, but understand that will only get you so far. What you've got to do, and I would say before you even start, is write down what your business is going to look like when it's finished. Okay, is to say, right, I'm going to take next 10, 20 years and build a business that looks like this.
Right. Okay,
and then share it with somebody who's not your family, not your friends, because they're not going to turn around and say that's a load of rubbish. Or perhaps they will tell you it's a load of rubbish, but you need to get some honest and say, look, that's what I want to build. Can I build it?
Yeah.
And then the second thing is you've got to be prepared to learn, because that's a bit like me saying I want to win Wimbledon, because I like tennis. Well,
right.
If you want to win Wimbledon, you've got to be prepared to put the effort in to be good enough to win Wimbledon. And that's so if you've got big dreams, you've got to be prepared to put a lot of work in to get there. If you've got little dreams and you're happy with that, that's fine. You don't have to do much work, but don't get to that point and then be dissatisfied with what you've got.
Right.
Because your business will always, every person's business is perfectly engineered to give them the results that they're getting.
Right.
So if you're not getting the results you want, then it's because you haven't built it properly.
Yeah. Amazing. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Been a pleasure.
Thank you. And to Kartik and Sean, Sean is in London amid all the madness leading up to Monday morning. You're aware of this. This is your hometown.
It is a bit crazy, but each to their own. If you want to stand 9 hours to look at a coffin that you can't even see.
So Sean is saying it's a 12-hour wait right now.
12 hours now, is it?
Oh my God. I hope they're bringing you chairs and snacks. And Kartik,
what happens when you want to go to the toilet? Do you have to lose your place in the queue and then?
I don't know. They must have people like, someone could you could hire people to wait in line for you. That's a business opportunity. Anyone wants to make some cash, just go stand in line for people. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Sean and Kartik, and anyone else who watched and didn't comment. This is day 16 of me going live every day of September. And also, what a lovely treat to have Kevin here with me. Kevin, thank you.
Been a pleasure, Katie.
And to everyone, I hope you have an amazing Friday and an amazing weekend, and we will see you all soon. Bye.
Bye for now.